You're listening to a download from the outdoorstation.co.uk.
Number 317.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another podcast here on the Outdoor Station. And we're producing this in the second week of March 2011, and as everybody is probably commenting and recognising themselves, the weather is certainly beginning to improve, and those darker nights, or the long dark nights, are starting to reduce. And it is just beautiful to hear birdsong in the morning and at night time as well, before the sun goes down. And it does make you feel like spring is certainly on the way. Speaking to a lot of people, and ourselves included for that matter, it certainly gives you the feeling that, okay, now's the time to get out and perhaps start our camping or outdoor adventures, and perhaps even go on a lightweight bivvy trip. I feel I have a lightweight bivvy trip in me about to emerge, and I need to go and play with some new toys. We've had quite a few new items come into the shop, and I've got a box full of bits and clothing and accessories and all sorts of bits and bobs, which I'm just dying to go out and play with and put in the test in the field so I can give an honest feedback on them. Well, you know what it's like when you get new kit. It inspires you to want to experiment and do a bit more. And I know I've been a bit lax over the recent months with the podcast, but as I've explained before, it's a question of fitting it all in. And thinking about this lightweight bivvy trip, I'm also thinking whether to attempt to video it as well as do an audio piece. It's more technology to carry with you, more weight and more things to consider, and it also slows you down as well if you want to tell a story properly. So I'll consider that, but I think that might be of interest to people if I try to do a bivvy trip and just showed the success or the disaster or whatever, and also you can see the products in use as well, and perhaps I can give some feedback on that. So leave that one with me, and I'll do my best to consider that. Right, this show actually is quite interesting. Not that they're not all quite interesting, but it's got a couple of cracking interviews on this. Now, as I say, it's March time, and we've now had the outdoor show down in Excel, which we didn't go to. We had the new show, which was tacked onto the Caravan and Camping Club show, which was called the Outdoor Leisure Show, I think. They've changed the name subtly up at the NEC. And then a couple of weeks later, there was the camera show, the Focus show, which used to be a trade show, but now is a consumer show. And interestingly, going back to the first one, the Outdoor Leisure Show, it was in one of the smaller halls at the NEC. It's difficult here. I mean, from a sort of observational point of view, and certainly watching the history of the show at that event over the last 4 or 5 years that we've been going, it's certainly reduced down from the 4 halls, I think it was, to a very small hall, and I didn't really think there was an awful lot of value there. However, it depends what your interests were. And anyway, Andy and I did a roundup piece of our thoughts at the show, and there were certainly plenty of families there. It was half term as well, so there were plenty of families there, and kids were obviously experimenting and trying out new techniques, or just having a go at things, really, which is always good. Got to be encouraged. So anyway, we've got an interview from the Outdoor Show, which is with Jim Evans from Alpkit. As we all know in the outdoor circles, Alpkit have built up a great reputation over the years for being decent, honest, straightforward blokes, and the company follows that ethos right through. And Jim is very honest about some of the aspects involved in manufacturing. Some of the increases in prices, how it's affecting them, and also the ability or the changing abilities to get hold of materials to produce products with. So I think everybody will be interested in what Jim's got to say when Andy chats to him. The other interview was from the Focus show. Here we are in March 2011. There's a new product coming out, a new camera from Panasonic called he says, looking at a bit of paper, FT3. The FT3. Now, why is this particular of interest to outdoors people? Well, obviously, we're all enthusiastic about taking pictures and videos and so on, and ideally we want rugged cameras, waterproof or at least quite water resistant, to put up with the rigours of carrying it with you and in capturing your trip. However, this one has got a few other bells and whistles on it, which will be of a lot of interest to people. There's a lot of talk at the moment about convergence from the photographic world, and they're talking about convergence of still photography and video photography in the same box. But in this particular case, the convergence that I'm referring to refers more to outdoor activities and equipment that you need for that and photography. So without giving too much away, I shall let that interview unfold a bit later on. But first, let's have some feedback. We've had a lot of feedback over the recent months from different people, which is really interesting. Really appreciate that. So the least I can do is take the time to read some of the comments, and thank you very much for your time for doing so. If anybody does want to write to us at any time, that's the email address is info@theoutdoorstation.co.uk. That's info@theoutdoorstation.co.uk. And I've got half a dozen here I just want to whip through quickly and comment on, perhaps.
You're listening to the award-winning UK Business Podcaster of the Year. This is The Outdoors Station.
The first email we've got in is short and sweet, and it's all the way from Vancouver in Canada, from Teresa Weir. And she just simply says, I love the podcasts. I've learned so much from them. Thank you for all your work and sharing your outdoor adventures. And that, of course, is our pleasure. And thanks very much for your support. A regular correspondent is Bob Andrews, who is based over in Wales, and who's a paddler, Welsh paddler. I think he's a kayaking enthusiast. And he says, hi Bob, thanks for latest podcast number 316. You again mentioned the way that the digital revolution is possibly becoming our master. Your own success with podcasts is a case in point that we, the listeners, expect there to be more and more of them. That's certainly true enough. I know some people frown on GPS and the like, but at one time, maps and compass were a newfangled idea, and like you, I'm happy to embrace them all. At the start of podcast 316, you mentioned Upton on 7, and I thought that a good podcast could include a chat with the map shop, but later on you mentioned the very shop. I've visited that Aladdin's Caves and Maps, and their service is like yours, second to none. And I must admit, Bob, yes, I do intend to go back and speak to them. I actually did discuss an interview with them and never saw it through last year, so I'll go back and in fact, if people wanted to drop me an email and ask me any particular questions, particularly for the map shop, look them up on the internet, the map shop at Upton on 7. I'll make sure I take those questions with me, and I'll ask them at the end of the interview. To continue, he says, I hear the comments about the recent outdoor shows, and without wishing to give you even more work, is there any chance of a show in your neck of the woods aimed specifically at the lightweight camper? Those of us new to backpacking cannot always find one place to view and try kit, and there seems to be an increasing number of cottage industries out there, but nice to feel the goods and, of course, seek advice. Very true, Bob. You've mentioned it to me a couple of times before, and yes, we would be interested in getting involved in something like that, but we're back to the old time demands again, yeah, let's just keep that one on the back burner. Okay, Darren Holiday. Hi Bob, I emailed you a few weeks ago regarding your rant on new technology and made a comment about every man and his dog now having an app. Well, forgive me Bob, but I have sinned. How could you? I've succumbed to the purchase of an Android phone and need to know when you will be releasing your app. Oh, behave. And do you know of any good walking related apps? The phone I have has an atrocious battery life, especially when using wireless or GPS enabled features. Anyway, take care, Bob, and look forward to the next podcast, Darren. Well, thanks for your comments, Darren. And I must admit, I have been looking at apps and looking at any particular way that we could use them, either from the Outdoor Station or from Backpacking Light. And the jury's still out on the best way. But I'm sure I think there's an opportunity there if time was on our side. I just need to think about it a bit more, really. Now, on the subject of the 316, the podcast, this is where I said about technology. It's great, it's useful, hence these podcasts, but also sometimes it's a little bit it's a little bit like a stick we're being beaten with those in charge of our lives, as it were. But anyway, on that subject, let's continue with this from Phil Winter. Bob, just replying after listening to podcast 316, and thanks a lot for doing these. I felt I needed to reply to your comments on the use of technology. On the 3rd of July 2005, I had a heart attack whilst walking on the fringe of Leeds. I phoned 999 myself and feel that saved my life. I was unconscious, and when the paramedics arrived, was shocked 3 times by a defibrillator. Yes, if I'd been in a wilder area, it might still have been too late for me. See the Robin Cook MP story. I don't think technology should make you more afraid, but should give you more confidence in case it is needed. You use a compass to navigate rather than the sun or moss growing on a tree. It's a tool to make things easier. Similarly, a GPS, but you still need to know how it works and how to use the alternatives. Sometimes you can just have bad luck, but good tools and training should help you gain confidence in the outdoors. Never be afraid. Regards, Phil. Thanks very much for sharing your story, Phil. That just goes to show you there is the other side of the coin about the technology. It does have its place in the outdoors, and thankfully it saved Phil's life. Right, just a couple more. One from Dan Armstrong. Hi Outdoor Station, love the programmes, nothing short of brilliance. Thank you very much. The production values are excellent. I do try. What I like most is the richness of sound from the in-field reports. The sound of the rain or streams puts me back in my tent. Foul weather is the best weather for sound effects. Yeah, thanks very much for that. As a new father, as well as a NHS doctor, imaginary play is the closest I can get to my trips for many months. Keep it coming, even though I have over 100 to listen to. Well, no problem, Dan. I shall do my best, and you never know, it might encourage your young family to experiment in the wilds as time goes by. And finally, Steve, I would just like to say how much I enjoy your podcasts. I can only imagine the effort and work that goes into each one, but I can assure you that they're very much appreciated. Thank you very much, Steve. Backpacking is my hobby, and I find that your website is very informative, with many hints and tips. When researching new pieces of equipment, I often check your website, and after purchasing a number of items from you, I have been really pleased with both how the products have performed and your customer service. That's very kind of you, thank you. As such, I have had no hesitation in recommending you to my friends. Thanks very much. Keep up the hard work, and see you on the hills. And Steve, and he's come via the TGO magazine. So thanks once again, everybody, for writing, taking the time to write. And as I say, if you want to write to us with any comments on these podcasts, or as I've just mentioned, if you have any questions you'd like me to ask the Map Shop at Upton when I do the interview with them, please write to me on info@theoutdoorstation.co.uk. And that's info@theoutdoorstation.co.uk. Right. Now, let's get into the first interview with Jim Evans. And Andy Howell saw him at the recent Outdoors Leisure Show at the NEC.
I'm at the Alp Kit stand, which is a firm favourite of these shows, not least because they offer stunning value for money with some quality kit. And I'm with Jim Evans, and we're standing by a new range that Alp Kit are quite excited about, which is a range of tents.
Yeah, so we're going to be launching these later on this year. We've gone really for the top-end expedition market, really with the view that with hopefully the prices we can charge with them, any sort of day-to-day user can buy them as well.
As you said, these are not backpacking tents, but they are bomb-proof, high-mountain expedition tents, aren't they? And they look quite interesting. So should we go and just have a look at a few? Yeah.
If I take you through the model, let's start with the smallest to start with. So this is a two-person mountaineering tent. So it's a 4-pole geodesic. We call it the Limpet. So it's a comfortable two-person tent.
It is a good size, isn't it? Two big lads wouldn't have any problems in there.
No, we've made the inside sort of sleeping length about 220, so that should fit most folk. Then we've given reasonable sized vestibules, based around sort of a very, very traditional 4-pole geodesic design, which has been tried and tested all over the world. We've tried to kind of give it an Alp Kit twist, rather than just copy kind of what's on the market originally. So, we've worked quite hard on the doors to give the doors quite a lot of features. So they've got lots of ways you can open them. You can prop them up with trekking poles to get different configurations of venting. Small window in the front so you can see the conditions outside. Internally, we've given loads of pockets and loads of hanging tabs. So there's plenty of room to really sort of manage your equipment with inside your tent rather than just trying to pull it all out of the rucksack and get it.
And if you're involved in a mountaineering expedition, you do want that, don't you? You need that kind of space and ability to organise everything.
I think that's something that people overlook in some ways, especially people sort of coming into mountaineering and doing their DV, of that organisation in your tent and managing equipment in your tent. That controls the condensation, it controls how comfortable it is to sleep in your tent. You wake up in the morning and you've put your jacket in the wrong bit and you've ended up getting the sleeve wet, and it just sets your day up wrongly. So, equipment management inside your tent, we think is key.
Okay, so that's the Limpet, and that's a good quality bomb-proof two-person shelter. The others here are quite ginormous, aren't they?
Well, yeah, we've then got the bunker. We're actually finding this is a super comfortable two-person base camp tent. You can squeeze up to 4 people in the bunker. Again, we thought about the internal storage quite carefully. On this one, we've got 2 options of vestibules. One that takes the inner tent a little bit larger, and one end takes the inner a little bit smaller. So we're kind of asking consumers here what they prefer, really, how it works for them. But again, a very strong. This is a 6-pole geodesic tent. This one, and again, bomber in the wind. It'll stand up to most things. And then we progress on to the behemoth on the stand. At the moment, it's called.
This is huge.
Yeah, this is called the Hex, and we think there's a big potential gap in the market for. Yes, this will be sold to people going to the Himalayas and on expeditions, and you'll kind of see it at the base of different mountains. But we think there's a good market for people that want to go and camp on the Gower, but they don't want to buy the big sort of behemoth type. Shelters that are around now, if you see what I mean.
If you had a child or a couple of small kids and you wanted something you were reasonably confident wasn't going to blow away in the wind, this strikes me as being ideal.
I mean, I go camping with my family in this one, and it's ideal with my daughter and my wife. All 3 of us can stand up in the tent without problems. It's got 3 doors. There's acres of storage. Again, inside there's pockets all over the place, hanging points all over the place. Ironically, there's a snow gathering hole which I can feed a wire from the car so we can run the DVD player in the car inside the tent. So we see this being bought by families as much as we see it being bought by kind of expedition groups.
Okay, so these are not backpacking tents, but they're expedition tents or they're base camp tents. But of course, a lot of us when we have small children want something like that. They look pretty robust, and presumably they're as competitive as all Alpkit products are price-wise.
Yeah, we haven't. There's a lot going on in China, which is where they're going to be made, like the majority of people's tents. So the fabric prices are rocketing at the moment, and there's a massive labour shortage. So we haven't got the final prices, but they'll be competitively priced along the kind of Alpkit model. We'll be taking our margin to keep on developing products and survive, but there's not going to be a hefty whack on top to line our pockets with gold as such.
Okay, so if you're looking for a good expedition tent or a good base camp tent, these are going to be pretty good value for money. Now, you did say to me earlier on before we switched the mic on.
There's a few people that have seen our Delta, which is the kind of we're trying to get our aim, and it's not the absolute goal, is to try and get a 2-person backpacking tent under 1 kilo, and that's a realistic 2-person backpacking tent. So we're not going to make 3 centimetre long unobtainium poles or something like that. We're trying to make it realistic, but we're not going to compromise the design to hit that kilo weight. If it ends up being 1.1, that's what we're... So we've had a couple of prototypes of that. It's not perfect. We haven't brought it to the show. We kind of postponed it for a year, launched these mountaineering tents, and then work on a bigger range of backpacking tents for 2012, possibly 2013.
Okay, so that's something to look forward to next time. Nice to know you're not forgetting us, but... if you are looking for an Expedition tent or a base camp tent, these do look really good, solid value for money. Now, what about the rest of the Alp Kit range, Jim? Because, of course, it's ever popular and very good value for money, particularly when we look at things like the down bags.
Yeah. Well, I guess for us, we didn't really have a launch of our new range of mats last year. They kind of snuck onto the scene. Obviously, everyone knew our Fat Eric, that got a big following of car campers, and we had the Wee Eric and the Slim Eric. We really wanted to up our game on self-inflating mats, and we've been courting a factory for quite some time to see if they'd make our mats, and they really are, I would say, up there with anyone else that makes self-inflating mats, as good as them really. So we've developed a range that we think's comprehensive, value for money, and really there's something there for everyone.
Okay, well, just looking at the mats earlier, certainly they look as tough and robust as the ones I've normally used from the more obvious, famous manufacturers. But what kind of options do we have here?
Well, we kind of start really with our base range. This is really aimed kind of the entry level, moving up from a foam mat, just getting into DV, that sort of thing. So it's a solid core mat with a basic polyester shell. So that
full length.
Full length and 2/3 length, in a couple of colours. That'll last you a lifetime. But if you want to progress up from that, then we've then got the Aero range, and that's really our lightweight end of the market. So the foam's been cored. We steered away from tapering the shape in our early models, but then through customer comments more than anything of sleeping in a lot of modern backpacking tents, you actually need the taper to fit.
They're narrow, yeah. You
need the taper to fit two mats together. So we've got the Aero in full length and 2/3 length, and we've got the Numo, which is the a more traditional airbed, but it's then got a synthetic insulation in the upper third of the mat.
And just to give us an idea of the base price for these, I mean, the Aero range is about...
Kind of, as OutKit comes on, it's interesting that I become more and more detached from the general selling of the product and the pricing. But the Aero 120, which is the 2/3 mat's 35 and the full length is 40, as opposed to the base, which starts at 25 for the 2/3 and goes up to 30 for the full length.
Okay, well, they're very, very competitive price-wise, and just inspecting them, handling them, and feeling them earlier, they would seem to be every bit as good as the competition.
We think so. We're very pleased with how they've come. We've had to tweak the prices up, more than anything because of what's happening in China, and then that affects us a little bit quicker than it affects a lot of other brands on their retail prices. But yeah, we're very happy with them, and then the base and the Aero as the sort of lighter weight ones, and then we've got the dirt bag, which we're finding is that most people in OutKit, that's becoming our second mat, that's becoming our car camping mat. We can carry it if we need to, but it's got enough space and comfort without taking up half the boot. And then we've got the dozer for the people that really want to clamp it up in their tents.
Now, a lot of lightweight backpackers and walkers are going to be drawn to your down sleeping bag range, which is incomparable really in terms of value for money, I guess.
Yeah, we've obviously got the Sky High, which is it's a bit deceptive really. We call it our entry-level model. In comparison to most other manufacturers, it's a mid-level bag. So we do the 600, the 800 and the Sky High 1000, and we do those in shorts and longs, and they're incredibly well received.
And the numbers match to the weights, don't they?
The numbers match the fill weights inside them. Obviously, if we do a long or a short, we don't adjust the fill weight, so if you buy the long, you get slightly less down per centimetre, and if you're short, which we sell a lot to a lot of ladies, you obviously get more, so you kind of get that slight bit more insulation. But no, they're a very staple product for us, churn out the door all the time. So unlike the Pipe Dreams, which we're struggling like mad to get hold of the fabric, I think this is a product that we've really struggled with. It's been well received, it's won Best in Test in magazines, Best Value in magazines. But when we launched it, it was only really the technical outdoor brands that were using these super light, low denier fabrics. So that suited us. We could order the fabric, we could make a batch of sleeping bags, we could sell half to 2/3 of them, we could order the next batch of fabric, and it kind of worked for us. the lead times on the fabric, now you've got all the big players in the world using these super light fabrics, the lead times on the fabrics are going crazy. You're talking,
and presumably you're sourcing from the same people.
Yeah, exactly. So unless we can put these big forward orders in, which is big mega bucks and stuff like that, so that's something we're struggling with as the Alpkit model, really. We're not going, because we don't go to trade shows and sell to the retailers a year, 18 months in advance. That's something we're struggling with, and we apologise to customers that they can't get hold of the pipe dreams.
Well, it's nice and refreshing to hear somebody be as honest as that, because we all know, anybody connected with the industry, that for a lot of kit there are actually very few manufacturers now, most of them focused in China, and I mean things like titanium products have had a bit of a roller coaster over recently, haven't they?
Yeah, titanium's kind of a weird one, really. We source from a couple of factories, and the prices on both, they don't seem to fluctuate together. They definitely kind of go up and down the place. They're really, there's really only one or two Chinese manufacturers, so which you'll see our products on branded with other product people's names. We're not going to reinvent a V-shaped tent peg and change our whole shape for the sake of changing our whole shape. We're going to spend our time redesigning our sleeping bags or redesigning our tents. There's a couple of ideas of different mug and pot designs on the sort of table, but they're still quite a long way off. It's quite hard. Things like that are quite hard to develop offshore, if you see what I mean. If we can find a UK manufacturer for this sort of stuff, which I think is starting to become more achievable.
Is that because of changes in exchange rates, or just that people are now looking around at other markets?
For us, we've always wanted to manufacture in the UK where we could, and we started off with our boulder mats, and I think we got bitten a little bit by the sort of UK manufacturing. We got a bit down on it. It wasn't as good as we wanted it. They cut corners to try and cut costs. I think now, because China, the dollar's not as a good exchange rate as when we started. There's big labour shortages in China. Material costs are going up. Shipping costs are going up. I think now there's much more feasibility to manufacture in the UK, especially with the Alpkit pricing model. If we could make our sky highs in the UK and price them the same as another manufacturer, but it's got a made in the UK brand on it, we'd love to do that. So our prices might tweak up, but it's kind of economic and sort of carbon footprint of getting made will be a lot smaller.
Sure. So it's the usual Alpkit model that we've come to know and love. We've got the tents and the backpacking tents you talked about in the future. Any other little gleams or dreams of things we should look to be excited about next year?
We obviously launched socks a couple of years ago. I think we rushed into socks a bit too quickly and didn't get it as right as we'd like to do it. So we've kind of taken a bit of a back step and redesigned the whole range of socks. I've got some. If I kind of sneak you around the back of this stand, I can show you the.
We're just going through a sign saying no entry into the hallowed back room of the Alpkit show.
You have to forgive me, these aren't sorted out in any shape or
That's
form.
okay.
And they're literally hot off the knitting press, let's say. But we've totally revamped our socks to give it a more coherent range. So we're going right from the sort of lightweight, active sport end of the market all the way up to kind of the heavyweight mountaineering kind of socks. So you have to forgive me because these aren't in any order. You've kind of caught me a bit by surprise. So we kind of start with an everyday sock. If you're anything like me, you probably wear outdoor socks every day. You don't just keep it for the hills. You wear them every day. Even if you just want a brand name on the end of your toe. I'm exactly the same. So we've kind of addressed that with our everyday socks. We're going to do this as long and as short. This is out of a bamboo yarn, so it's super soft. It's not a particularly technical sock. Terry footbed. It's really soft if you kind of give that a...
Yeah, it's nice and soft and comfortable.
Muted colours, so you can wear it with your suit at work or to a wedding or whatever, but secretly when you take your posh shoes off, you've got a brand name on the end of your toes that kind of reminds you...
Kind of one of those kind of secret outdoor kind of fraternity signs.
Yeah, it kind of reminds you of the mountains when you take it off.
I've been to a few weddings recently where I could have done with reminding myself of the mountains.
So that's the first one, and then we've got we kind of progressed that up a little bit. This colour's totally wrong, but experimenting with Primaloft yarns, which was it's not really a couple of years old that Primaloft launched this, and this is basically the Primaloft synthetic fibres twisted with merino yarns. We like and trust Primaloft as an outdoor brand, and thought this was a natural thing to experiment in socks.
I mean, mixing the merino and the synthetics going to give you what properties, Jim?
The Primaloft obviously gives you really good insulation properties. Obviously, it's a hollow fibre yarn, the same as it's in these synthetic jackets. It's an incredibly soft yarn. It's incredibly fine as well. If you look on
it is a very soft and fine wearing sock. Yeah. There's no need to wash that 10 times before it softens up, is there?
No, definitely not. The ladies that are actually knitting them in the factory, when they're bunching them together, have remarked how soft the Primaloft yarns are. In fact, I'll give you a pair of the Primaloft ones to take away, and you can give me a bit of feedback on how you think they go. So we're looking very much, the range is kind of based around this sort of Primaloft merino yarn, so we should get the sort of the durability and the warmth and the toughness of the wool combined.
Not to mention the anti-pong.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on, that's always important.
We haven't used these enough to know how good they are at the anti-pong side.
We'll certainly test that out for you.
We'll give it to Nick. He definitely he's got the hot feet at Outkit. So yeah, basically the range is based around that Primaloft yarn. There's a couple of Coolmax ones thrown in there, and then we've also working on, if I can dig down and find them. These ones feel these are a tactile sock. So when you put them on the fingers, they feel quite grabby on your fingers. They catch all the sort of roughness on your hands. When you put them on your feet, they're the softest socks in the world. Amazingly durable. Tactile's used in a lot of running socks. So this is going to complement our adrenaline that we already do.
You can see how that would work for any kind of impact, kind of running,
trail running,
jogging,
biking, anything like that. So we've kind of got the tactile sock, and then with that tactile then comes through into, we're going to be doing a liner sock. Now these are going to be super bright. The idea, obviously, a liner sock, it's going to go under another sock, so why don't we kind of jazz it up and make it a little bit more, more fun. So these are going to be a bright colour, tactile yarn again, super thin, with venting on the top. And the idea is this would sit under any of our sort of mountaineering and walking socks. In the walking side range, we're going to have three. We're going to have a lightweight, which this one is, which I'll give you a pair to take. That's got terry along the footbed, a bit of terry down the front, in front of your shins and over your sort of top of your foot, and then just standard knit through the rest. So that's kind of a lightweight one. We'll be then effectively doing the same sock, we're going to call it the midweight, and that'll be terried right the way through. And that's buried in the box somewhere. No, there it is. So this one's terried right the way through, and you can really feel how soft the Primaloft.
Yeah, that's going to appeal to any leisure walker, isn't it? That's very similar to what they'd expect to see, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So those two socks will kind of last you most of the year, and then if you're really taking it into the winter, then they're going to be doing, we haven't got a name for this one yet, it's heavyweight mountaineering sock was its prototype name. Bad Boy is what the sock company that knitted them called it, and that's really nice, again, wool-based, super warm sock basically. Again, you'd probably wear it with a liner, so you can use this anything from skiing to ice climbing to winter mountaineering. So hopefully that sock range, when it's complete, and on the site, there's a sock there for everyone, whereas I think our sock range before was a little bit bitty and didn't really
well, it's certainly a comprehensive range, and they just on first inspection and feeling and touching them, they stand up to almost anything else I guess you'd see in the high street.
Definitely. And I think the biggest thing that they're made of, we can get from our warehouse in Ilkeston to the guys that make this in under 10 minutes. So we couldn't source these socks any more local. So that's the biggest thing we like about this. They're just a super nice company to work with, just down the road from us.
Okay, well, the great thing about AlpKit is that you're pretty easy to find. It's alpkit.com.
That's where we're at. We're always on the web, always at the end of the phone if you need to get hold of us. And yeah, any suggestions people have got on kit, fire them in.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Jim. There's no doubt AlpKit has made a big impression on the UK gear scene, quite rightly, because you're really driving quality and driving price and giving us great value for money. So good luck with the next 12 months, and we look forward to those backpacking tents.
Thanks very much. Good to see you.
You're listening to The Outdoor Station.
Award-winning producers of podcasts to inform, inspire, entertain and encourage people to enjoy a healthy outdoors lifestyle.
Let's move on to our second interview in the podcast now, and that's with Peter Kelleher, who is the Lumix Product Management Assistant for compact cameras. And we're looking at the forthcoming FT3. It's a brand new camera. It's coming out very, very shortly in the UK, and it has got some amazing features of particular interest to outdoors users everywhere.
The FT3, really, really great camera. We're really excited about it for this year. So it's got all the bells and whistles. It's 12 metre waterproof, minus 10 degrees freeze proof, 2 metre shock proof. It's dust proof as well. It's got a 28mm wide angle lens, 4.6 times optical zoom, full HD movie. It's got altimeter, barometer, compass, GPS tagging. It's 3D photo mode. It literally has got everything you need if you're an outward bound person.
That's a very impressive list of spec there.
Yep.
So first of all, for people that haven't heard about this, it is a compact camera. It's I've not seen a camera that's got GPS built in such a way, and certainly barometer and altimeter for many outdoors people that would prove to be of interest, particularly if the battery duration is sensible. Obviously, you're not going to get much chance to do much charging when you're out and about for a few days.
That's correct. Yeah, I mean, we'd recommend for anyone going out and about to get an additional battery, because obviously the last thing you want is to run out of battery when you're halfway through for a trek or a hike or whatever you're doing. The battery life is good, but obviously using the GPS, it's constantly refreshing. You've got so many features on this that it just makes sense to have an optional battery on the side as well, just to make sure.
As the GPS is refreshing on a regular basis, even when the camera is switched off, presumably it's still using some power, and I presume it must be the same with the barometer and the altimeter as well. Are these all independently switchable?
Yes, they are. In terms of the GPS, specifically, it refreshes every 15 minutes while the camera's turned off, so it keeps up to date with where you are. There is a menu option that you can go into and just simply switch it off to save on that refreshing, and that will save you battery life as well. So we would recommend that if you want to sort of store as much battery life as possible.
And we're talking about battery life, but actually have you got an estimate of what a normal use battery life would be?
Yep, roughly 310 pictures in full resolution. So if you're looking to take any more than that, obviously again the optional battery is recommended.
Okay. You said it's got high def video, and obviously 3D as well. We'll come on to 3D in a second, but the high def video, does it give you options to have 3:4 screen and 16:9?
Yes, you can switch between the different options in the menu again. It's 1080i, so really good quality picture.
Does it use standard SD cards, or are you talking about high definition cards now?
Yeah, SD cards, but we recommend for HD movie that you use at least a class 6. So our gold range is ideal for it. Class 10 as well is recommended for high-speed burst shooting, and this has got a really high-speed CCD, so we recommend that you'd use at least sort of a class 6 or class 10 card.
It's a very powerful piece of machinery. I mean, finally the 3D, obviously 3D now is being bandied about as being the new thing. Yeah. Do you think that's got much of a life?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a trend in terms of the TVs that it's all shifting towards 3D, and we think it's going to be more important. So in terms of 3D photo, at the moment, maybe you don't have a 3D TV, but it's sort of future-proofing you. You can take the 3D image, which is really, really easy to do, by the way, and that takes a 2D image and a 3D image. So you've got the 2D image for now. If you buy a 3D TV in a year's time, you can look back, see it in 3D, and I'm pretty sure you'll be quite happy that you did that.
It's incredible how it's moving.
Yeah.
Finally, I've seen some of these other, some of similar cameras, compact outdoors cameras, should we say, that the seals haven't lasted very long on like the battery cover and the chip cover and so on. How much testing has gone into this sort of product?
Our factory do really extensive testing. Every single component on this camera is made in-house by Panasonic, so we've got ultimate control over everything. It's been new and improved from this year, all the seals and everything, so whilst the FT2, FT10 have been really, really good, we've tried to improve it even more, and it really helps to keep control of it by doing everything in-house.
Well, it's a nice. It's certainly a very, very pocketable shape. It's small and compact, being the word. So that's the DMC FT3. And what sort of price are we looking at that?
It's likely to begin at about £350, similar to how the FT2 began. That's the top of the range. We've got the FT2 and FT10 also in the range.
Well, let's come on to those. So let's just repeat that again. With the FT3, then you're getting, obviously, top of the range camera, very, very durable, great depth for waterproof use, but also the barometer, GPS, altimeter and compass on there as well, which makes it a very, very interesting multi-purpose tool for the outdoors user. So moving along to the other items which are in the range, you've got the FT3, then you've got the FT2 and the FT10. So let's just talk about the FT2, which obviously was the top of the range until recently.
Okay, so the FT2's got all of the sort of rugged features. It's got 10 metre waterproof, 2 metre shockproof, minus 10 degrees Celsius, freeze-proof, dust-proof again. It's, in terms of versus the FT3, it doesn't have the GPS, doesn't have the compass, altimeter and barometer. They're all brand new technologies for us this year. It's HD movie, and it doesn't have the 3D photo mode as well.
But it has got HD.
It's got HD, not full HD like the FT3, so it's 720.
So slightly less featured but equally durable. And what sort of money were you talking about, Mel?
It's going to be around sort of £250 to £300 in the market.
Okay, and then yet another one in the range with obviously a bit more affordable. Tell us about that one.
Yep, we've got the FT10 as well, which is the entry model. It's going to be around £180, and this one really is sort of our entry-level tough product, but it's ideal for families and if you want to leave the camera with the kids and not worry about it sort of falling on the floor, dropping in your drink. It's perfectly fine. It's 3 metre waterproof, 1.5 metre shockproof. Again, it's minus 10 degrees freeze-proof. Really, really small pocketable camera as well. It's got the 4x optical zoom, HD movie, 720, and it's 14 megapixel CCD, so really good all-round camera. So
really, I mean, it's down to the amount of free change you've got in your pocket, really. They all do the same sort of job for the average outdoors person, the person that's into canoeing or walking or whatever it might be with wet weather, and not really concerned too much about keeping the camera dry all the time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the FT3, perfect for someone who really is outward bound, the hikers, the trekkers. FT2, very much the same, but maybe if you don't need the compass and things like that, so maybe it's more for water sports and things like that. And then the FT10, that's just really good sort of entry level, that's perfect for families and sort of just if you want a rugged camera.
Well, that pretty well brings this podcast to a close. And thanks once again to our guests, Jim Evans from Alpkit and Peter Kelleher from Lumix, and of course to Andy as well. Now let's just hope that this inspires you to look out through the window, look at the weather. No matter if it's still a bit grey and overcast, it's certainly a lot brighter, a lot warmer than it has been the last dull few months. Well, if nothing else, let's encourage you to get out, go and do something, go for a walk, go for a bike ride, go for a run, go for a paddle, go for a sail, anything to do with self-powered travel. That's what these podcasts are all about. And we're hopefully setting our diary up for this year to do a whole variety of things, which will unfold over a period of time. So until next time, folks, thanks very much for your time, take care there, and get out and enjoy it more. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To hear more from our extensive free library, please visit the website at theoutdoorstation.co.uk.
You can now follow the Outdoor Station on Facebook, where we chat about each programme we produce, answer questions and discuss future productions. Why not join us there?
This podcast is produced and hosted by theoutdoorstation.co.uk.